Even if you don't make it to the top of the mountain, the person you become in the pursuit of that has a ripple effect on this world.
Welcome back to another episode of Seek Your Summit. Get ready, because Whitney Diamond is the kind of guest that makes you rethink what's possible. She's bold, she's visionary, and she has this rare gift of turning setbacks into setups for something greater. Whitney has walked through the fire and still shows up with clarity, confidence, and this contagious energy that makes you believe you can too. What I love most about her is she doesn't chase success. She creates significance. She challenges the rules, she trusts her gut, and she shows us that authenticity is your superpower, not a weakness. If you're ready to stop holding back and start living like you mean it, Whitney's story is going to hit home in the best way possible. Thank you, Whitney.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Oh, of course.
So happy to be here. I'm really excited for this conversation.
I'm excited too, and I know our audience is going to get a lot of good from it, so thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
What's something, to get us started, that people assume about you that isn't true, and how has that assumption shaped your journey?
Well, I have this kind of hidden talent, I guess you would say, and I call it just a hobby that I have fun with to kind of clear my mind. But about 8 years ago, I decided I was going to learn how to be a professional barrel racer. Okay. And I just started ranking up, going through the ropes, learning all of it. I had no idea what I was doing. And now I have had my pro card for a couple years. I have a whole team of horses. And I don't typically present like a cowgirl.
Yeah.
But the second people hear about cowgirl, they are all about that whole Western lifestyle and the grit of it and the romance of the horses, you know. So that's a really fun kind of like plot twist.
Well, it is a big plot twist. Like, what made you decide 8 years ago that I'm going to try this thing that I have no experience in?
That's just something I do. And like when we were talking before this and we were thinking about resilience and mindset, I really put some thought to like, what have I developed that I can rely on as a tool in those areas? And just not becoming stagnant has been literally a lifesaver. And so time and time again, I just reinvent myself if that's what it feels like is happening energetically. And so I was just like, okay, here's this thing and I'm going to do it. And I showed up and had no idea what I was doing. And it's been so much fun. And I think just that openness, you know, to just go for it. And like,
and
not
were
be
you
afraid.
always a person that was open to like reinvention and trying new things, or did something happen that it's like, hey, I need to reinvent?
I've always been very creative. So I wouldn't say I've always been that brave to kind of step into the fire or try something new, especially you know, I didn't grow up doing, let's say, I did the same thing with fitness, like a fitness journey. And I didn't grow up doing those things. And so it's like, a lot of times we want to be like, I don't know what that looks like, so I'm not going to try it. And I've just never had that fear. But when I was younger, in my early 20s, I was held hostage for 4 days. It was
mic drop moment real quick.
Yeah.
Held hostage for 4 days.
It was 4.5 days, and I don't tell this story often, but when we talk about resilience, there was 4.5 days of, I would say, otherworldly. There were so many different experiences in that. And so I didn't really have a choice coming out of that, but to step into, like, I call it becoming a human again. And really learning, you know, like, yeah, you're going to step into the fire, but what's the alternative?
Okay.
So that's really, I think, when kind of all the walls fell. And I was so young, you know, so it really set me on a path of learning.
Okay, so how did you get held hostage? We have to know these details. Because no one just dropped that message on my podcast yet, so I can't breeze over that and pretend we didn't hear it.
So it was a domestic situation. I was leaving.
Okay.
And that wasn't an option. In his world. And so 4.5 days of kind of reading the highs and lows, we think he was on drugs.
Oh, wow.
And so, and I've never had any experiences with drugs. So really just riding the waves for survival. It ended with SWAT, and we both came out alive, thankfully.
Thankfully.
Yes, and from there it was like a complete rebuilding. Wow. Yeah.
Were you ever worried for your life? Or was it more...
Oh, 100%. It was very violent. Yeah, there was a lot of moments of like, I wonder what it's gonna feel like.
Oh,
yeah.
My God.
And I didn't grow up super religious. I hope this is okay, but there was moments of like knowing I was with my ancestors and kind of out of body and kind of going back and forth and those kind of things. So there was a very spiritual aspect to it all.
Was it comforting when you were going to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that was almost like when things got too violent for my mind to comprehend.
Yep.
I was like taken out of the situation.
Okay.
Yeah, it was so coming out of that, and that's why I don't like, people go years knowing me without knowing a lot of details, just because the becoming out of tragedy is such a blessing. And it doesn't even have to be a huge,
Well, hopefully it's not for people.
Because it's messy coming out of things. Even, who's to say what trauma is for someone or crisis, right? And so it can be smaller, it can be big, but it feels the same.
Yep.
And so, like, reinventing has saved me over and over again. And I think just trusting that flow of the direction that your life is trying to take you.
So when you exited, what was one of the first things you did to ground yourself and just feel safe again?
It definitely took time.
Okay.
And what's interesting is I came back and I got in crisis counseling, and it was super great and works super well for a lot of people. But one of the first things that was said to me was, women don't usually live through this, right? And I was like, here I was, probably just a couple months out of the situation. And I remember thinking in my mind, and this is one of those moments that really I hold to quite often. And I remember thinking, well, if this is living, I wish I had died.
Oh, no.
And so I never went back to counseling, but my mom was like, I'm losing my daughter. What do I do?
Of course, right.
And so she's like, you're going to go to this energy class with me. I'm like, yeah, okay, Mom.
Crystals, please.
Yeah.
Right.
And so she's like, so this is over like 19 years. That really set a bond for us. And that's another kind of area where I just learned to just let it flow. And for the last 18 years, we still do all this energy stuff together. It's so fun, and we're just exploring all of it. But that really tied into the spirituality.
Okay.
So spirituality really saved me through all of that.
More than fixed religion for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your mom, critical role, or could it have been anybody, do you think?
So my mom was a single mom growing up, and she wasn't there a lot. So I've always been super independent.
Okay.
And could it have been somebody else? Probably. Is it such a beautiful blessing that it was my mom? Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. I got to kind of like heal that loop, right? And have that parenting bond together
100%.
through that.
For her and for me, a lot of times we think, oh, this happened to me, or I'm going through this. And it took a lot of years before that actually clicked for me, where I'm like, oh my gosh, what about my poor mom?
Right,
like, what about that side of the experience? And I was thinking about mindset, because there's so much different information on mindset, right?
Right.
And I was like, what is something that I rely on, or that I tell my friends, or when somebody's having a hard time? There's a lot of times I get phone calls and people are like, I don't know how to support my kid. They are having a really hard time. Like, can we just come up and talk to you? Because there's something unique about somebody who has experienced different levels of trauma. Yeah. And so I was like, what would I give if I gave one thing on mindset, thinking about your podcast specifically? And I 100% of the time would go back to grace, giving yourself the grace to look at something differently, giving the other person the grace. And that's how it goes, right? You're so internal about how it feels and you're living in your body and your experience, that was a pretty pivotal moment when I could be like, oh, it's not about me, you know? And that takes time and healing and processing, and everybody's at different places. But when I could turn that around and offer grace to the whole situation, it's kind of interesting. When I think about different things that I want to get all caught up in and get all worked up about, and I'm like, is there somewhere in there that I can just let myself breathe and tell myself it's okay?
Yeah.
Is there somewhere in there I can tell that other person that it's okay?
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Can you create that space and
Yeah.
let it be? I always ask myself, like, can I be wrong about it? Can I let another perspective or another idea or another thing show up? Because you get so married to your vision or your viewpoint or your vantage point, and then you just try to pile on as many layers of like supporting documents
Yeah.
per se, right? And it's like, but what happens if I could be wrong about that one thing? And then what else can show up? And what does that mean?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a lot of times like, man, I really like to be right, but maybe I could just be wrong this time, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just creating that space and that ability for that flow.
Yeah.
I never thought I was that trusting of a person
Right.
to open up like that to a higher purpose.
But do you think because you've done the work and you got to the other side that it's easier to trust more and open up more?
Yes.
Yes and no?
Yes and no.
Okay.
And maybe that's the conversation of trusting in a higher power.
Yeah.
Or purpose, and being driven kind of that way more so. I'm a little more open that way as far as a single higher power. And so whatever it is I trust, it's definitely become easier to trust that, like, I'm going to jump off the ledge. Like, here we go again. This is what we're doing, and this is what it feels like. You know, even outside of people, there was a time where I would have fallen to the statistic and I wouldn't be here. There was a time where I could have seen myself like dead in the gutter if something didn't change. Just trying to process emotionally all the things, you know, outside of something like I experienced. But just having that backing and being able to just have the bandwidth. Like, we fill our days and our lives and our minds with so much.
So much.
And it's kind of interesting because I think we're afraid of that space, but that's where we really truly find ourselves too. So do I trust everything? I wouldn't necessarily say I'm an openly trusting person, but do I have a built belief in something? 100%.
Yeah. I think for me, it helps to know that there's a higher power at play, and I can always lean on that and check in. And so obviously you've had some really big experiences in your life. How do you feel you integrate those to be able to carry forward and not like avoid trauma or bury it or have it resurface?
Right. Because you're never going to go back to who you were.
Yeah, you
right?
don't get that chance.
You don't get that chance. And you're never not going to be a victim. Let's use some of those like kind of trigger words, right? And so what I've done is learn to find things that I like to associate with. But what I found is in our busy days, it's so easy to fall into being afraid of like that space in between, let's say, and stagnation will kill you. But also the overprocessing is the same thing. We're being distracted. We're, you know, even if you're, let's say you're stuck in confusion, you're in a relationship that is not serving you, all of these things that kind of like stagnate us from being creative. And so I found that the more creative and the more that I search to be in service, I kind of take that idea of like, I'm feeling this, I'm this, that internal, by trying to find ways to cultivate my relationships better or be in service of friends or send a gift. You know, just I've found ways not necessarily to calm the demon, but to make it my friend. And you're going to sit here now and we're going to do this. Or guess what? Like, you want to like work on my brain and anxiety and overwork and sleepless nights, we're going to set that aside and we're going to make it something productive. So really just staying really creative and pushing myself to repattern, and just continue to push out those little things that, you know, will stagnate you or create anxiety, all these things that kind of have a way of stopping us in our tracks.
Yeah, I find like I have to move. Like I need action, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm stuck mentally or emotionally, then physically I'll take action. And I'll just go on a walk or whatever. I'm like, see, we're moving. What can we move on this thought? Like, what can we do to not stay stuck? Understand that we're all changing and evolving all the time.
Well, and you're not going to escape the full range of, like, we're all here in this human experience. We're all going to experience the emotions and the roller coasters and things that we like and things that we don't. So how do we learn to navigate that? And if there is a pain point, get over it as quickly as possible, find the best outcome as quickly as possible, and cultivate something different. And not being afraid of what that looks like. It's not going to look good all the time.
No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, I wish it did.
Definitely.
So if curiosity, not fear, was your compass, what would you be exploring next?
I think I want to branch out of horses. It's just what I'm feeling right now. I want to do something a little different, get a little crazy, I guess, right? And so I am going to start back into yoga. I'm going to start exploring that. Maybe even some, I think it's called Lyra, like the hoop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
So, and I've really been trying to just get out into nature more. Hiking and just experiencing different things with other groups of people. I've always been a nature person, but we'll see where it takes me.
Yeah. I like it. The mountains will always be there. So we have that going for us. What's a ritual, object, or habit you keep in your life that people might find quirky but it's essential to you?
So I've been in the energy space for a while. I have a couple of like pendants and a couple of crystals that have been with me through that whole process. So I typically have those around when I need a little pick-me-up or kind of a little remembrance of like, you're a badass. Yeah. You got this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You've survived worse.
Yeah.
You got
like,
this.
Some people call it a power list, you know, when you're going into something that's kind of intimidating or whatnot, and you're like, oh, these are the last 10 things I did that were super awesome. So those are kind of like my little power items, and I'm like, okay, you got this.
You got this.
You know?
I like that. I like that you call it a power list. That's good. That's good. If we took away your titles and your roles, how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I'm very thrill-seeking, adrenaline-driven, very big-hearted, which I always try to remember isn't a bad thing.
It's not.
And a third thing, I'm pretty tough.
Yeah.
You know, like I love lifting heavy weight in the gym, and I'm just, pretty tough.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, so we've learned a lot from you today on just like metabolizing things out of our control. And understanding that it's a journey and it is allowing yourself to reinvent.
Give it grace.
Give yourself grace.
Ugh.
And just be like, time heals. Yeah, and having someone like your mom or some other human in your life that is willing to do that work with you, right? And say like, okay, if this isn't gonna work for you, let's try something else out. And I think a lot of us, when we get stuck, we like to isolate, but it's so important to just lean in.
Yeah.
To at least one other human.
Lean in, and the right human, you know, somebody that can offer you that grace. That wasn't something I was always good at. It's like just being like, I see you, I love you as a whole human being, you know?
Fun.
And it's so fun though. And
it is. It's like you have these little things that you see in another person, you're like, we're same.
Yeah.
We're same. We're good. Awesome.
So fun.
Okay, how does my audience get more of you?
Well, I'm not super great at my socials, to be honest. But I am on socials. It's Queen's Gambit Co. So that's my consulting company. I'm finishing a degree in finance and law, so kind of building that out.
All right, friends, what an amazing episode. Like, see, we get these great guests that have these crazy experiences that help our lives get navigated a little bit easier. So if you like today's episode, like it, subscribe, share it with a friend, and we'll see you next week.